So hi, yeah, I'm Kurt. So I used to do a lot of the techie work on Data Unity.
All of the techie work.
Yeah, a bit of a geek, so a bit of my background is that I've worked in the private sector for over a decade, making data analysis tools for companies like PayPal, BBC Worldwide, and really we saw a need for similar tools for social organisations. And Nominet Trust that kindly shared that vision and funded the tools. We've been working on Data Unity, and really we want to make tools for non-techies. Basically, if you look at a spreadsheet and kind of go, what the hell do I do next? That's the point where we come in, really. We want to make tools that let you dig into data, so get in and explore data and find insights. To visualise the data, to make it more friendly, and to make people want to actually engage with it. And also to sharing. Sharing is very important to get your insights out there. So I want to give you a brief run through of Data Unity, just to kind of show you how easy it is to put together some infographics. Right, so to start off, you want to kind of let the system know about data. So you can click on Add Data Set. And you can either link to some existing data, so say you've got some data out there on the internet, say like on data.gov.uk, you can go and connect to it. Or if you have some more private data, for example like some membership figures or some financial information, you can upload it kind of securely and keep it private by default. So there's a couple of options there. So once you've got your data in the system, we have this tool concept which we call the Data Explorer to start digging into the data. So just fire that up. So this really, we want it to sort of be a little data playground. So along the top you've got a list of the available visualizations in the system, and we're bringing more online all the time. And down the left-hand side, we've got a list of available data sets in the system. So let's just put some infographics together. So this is a data set that somebody sent us for the workshop, Send a Cow charity. Let's get going. So really, you just drag a visualization down to the top and drop it onto the page. So we'll perhaps look at gender by income from X, for example, and visualise it. So actually, I'm just going back to that screen there. So what we've done is we've tried to make this friendly, colour-coded system. It's like Lego blocks of data, really. You know that if you drag a green field onto the green placeholder and an orange field onto the orange placeholder, you're going to make valid data for this data visualization. You want to do very easy and intuitive. So once you've done that, you can just hit visualize and you get your infographic up. So in this example, we see that this is income from X, and you see like it's females have a larger share of the egg market in this place. We can start to dig around in the data really and just find out, let's take income from cereals for example, and just use that instead. And we see the pictures reversed. It seems to be a very much more male-dominated field. So with this, just by playing around and exploring the data, we can start to get an insight into what's going on in the data. I'll just quickly open another one. So you can save these data sets off and just kind of re-open them later. So I perhaps just look at this one. So I've just done one by district. So we can start to again get some insights into our data. Here's the districts. We see a very different balance of income amongst different districts. This is from milk and this is from cattle. We can start to see how very different we've got distributions of income in different sectors. We've got some geographic data in there as well. So this is just the data that I found on data.gov.uk, just access points in Warwickshire for local account services. And again, with the geography, it's the same system. Drag and drop your coloured fields onto the placeholders on the right, and you'll make a valid visualisation. The way you go, you get like the plotted points for Warwickshire on the map. So, read from one of the others. So that's how you go about kind of putting together visualisations quickly. But that's not the end of the story. If you've found some insights in your data, the next stage really is to get them out there, broadcast into the world. We didn't want to make a system where all of those insights were locked into one site. You can't get out of them. We've not made a black box. It's all about sharing the data. So we've got some share options up the top here, and you can take snapshots of your data. You can either take a picture as a photograph, a static photograph, or link to the data. So as you update the data, you get new results coming through. And we've got different sharing options. For example, you can embed the visualizations on your sites or your blogs. So just to give you a quick example of that, at the Bristol workshop we had a visit from Sustrans, the transport charity. So we had a quick look at some open data from open.gov.uk, found some traffic accident figures. So we just quickly banged them together into a small blog post. So you can see just embedding some of the data Unity graphics into a blog post gives you a kind of quick and easy way to make a sort of mini dashboard really, or a mini blog just to let people know what's going on. I think the key point is this is utterly separate from data Unity. This is just a blog posted on GitHub, so it's completely separate. It could be anywhere else on the internet. We imported those infographics into a different context where we've been talking around the data. So you don't really know the data Unity is involved, but you have all of the benefits from it brought into your own context. You can chat around the data. That's the brief overview really. So if you have any kind of questions for myself or Toby, fire away.
Hi, I'm Sarah Medtree from Bond. I just wonder if data Unity connects to the global value exchange, and if so, how?
It doesn't at the moment. So a lot of the stuff we do is more kind of open data, spreadsheets, databases, a lot of the information. So I'm not so familiar with the this ROI way of working, but potentially it can.
Where it might do is the benchmark that we mentioned, where indicators on the global value exchange may look at homelessness figures, for example. The benchmark field could have a link to an open data set on homelessness that the government may keep. We've thought about perhaps visualising those national data sets for by data Unity, so that is possible. That's about it.
Should talk about the link data and how that works in relation, because actually the way it's designed it is that it's using link data, so actually it doesn't need to reside on our website. So if there's stuff on any other website, that can be used. So it's really just a kind of a tool that facilitates it. What you do with it and where it comes from is kind of irrelevant for data Unity. You probably can explain that more technically than I can.
That's a very good point actually. So in the past we've had a lot of problems with, so say like you've got a spreadsheet, okay, that's locked away on your local computer, nobody gets to see it. We've got all of these black boxes, say you've kept all your data on a database, it's very hard. You have to then go through developers to get to your data. It's like, hang on a minute, this is my data, I should be able to access it. So, we've been using Semantic Web and linked data, which is a fantastic system for sharing open data. And basically, we're not aiming to make a black box. We're aiming to become part of the fabric of the internet almost. It's great stuff. It's like using the internet as your database, basically. And we'll go and connect to those data sources and drag in the information and make visualizations from it. So I think the key point, as Toby was saying, puts you back in control of the data. You know, you can put the data on your own website, on data.gov.uk, for example, and we'll go and fetch the data from there. You stay in control of your data.
The advantage of that is that if the data on data.gov.uk or anywhere else changes, your visualization will change as well. So you can suddenly create a real-time visualization, and that's where it becomes the kind of dashboard that Kev was talking about, because you don't need to do anything. If someone changes the data that you're interested in, it will change the kind of visualization. But you can also keep a record if you want a snapshot. If you want it to be at that point, you can do it that way as well. So you can either have it fixed, you could record how it changes over time. So you create what's it called? A time thing. What are they called? You know, so you could have a record that changes over a period of time, or you can just have it updating in real time, and all of those are kind of features which you can choose to use depending on what we want it for.
What's needed in terms of the format of the data to upload it? How does it need to be extracted in a particular way? Or?
Yeah, at the moment we're using a kind of traditional spreadsheet format, so probably one that most people will be quite familiar with, just sort of headers on the first row and the data underneath. However, we are looking to support other options, so for uploading Excel sheets. There's lots of fancy ways that people can arrange information in spreadsheets as well. So we're having some tools where you can, for example, trim out blank lines at the start, sort of unpivot columns and things like that. So there's lots of kind of data loading tools. So that's the data we can use is kind of gradually expanding. If you see data on data.gov.uk, there's a good little option. There's a preview option on there. So if you see a data set and then hit preview, you'll see a kind of a preview of the data basically. And if it looks okay in that, then you know it's probably going to look okay in Data Unity. So there's a little way to, if you see some open data that you'd like to see in there, a little way to quick test there.
Can you create infographics that combine data from more than one data set?
Yeah, that's right. Well, if I just hop back to visualization here. So actually what's running behind here, I don't want to get too technical, there's a full kind of data pipeline with all the data flow between those. But what we see here in the query box is just one strand of data really. And some data, these represent data operations. There's no reason why we can't have multiple strands here and sort of bring them together into a sort of a funnel. So we have all of the back-end functionality for this and loads more. It's a full pipeline for loading and transforming data. Just haven't brought them through to the front end just yet. It's going to take a little bit more work, but that's very much key to what we're doing. Is I think a lot of people want compare figures and look for correlations. So yeah, we see that as a key part of what we're doing.
And certainly with the massive kind of visualizations, that's going to become really important, because that's where often there'll be new insights that emerge. So I think it was important to get something out that provides the kind of basic functionality. What Kev has been grappling with is Ed and myself kind of going, but what about, can't we do and this and that, so we've got a long list of, and it would be great to hear, how will this be used, because it needs to change to reflect what people want. But the other thing is, as people use it, we'll build up a repository both of the types of queries, so you'll be able to see how other people have used data and the sorts of visualizations they've created. So just make it slightly easier, not slightly, much easier for people who maybe haven't got a specific problem or need, but they just are interested in something, to see, well, I'm interested in this data set, or I've got slightly different data to this, or I've got and through time it will become, people can develop new visualizations, new queries, and those will become a kind of repository that others can learn from and share, and because it's so easy and open source, it will hopefully encourage data novices to become more sophisticated in how they look at their own and other people's data.
Yeah, just to carry on from that as well, is again this links back to the semantic web really. So if you've marked up something as a kind of geography column or something like that in your data set, we know that's a geography column, so we know that other geography and other data sets, that they kind of match up. So we can kind of sort of intelligently in the background kind of recommend and find connections between data sets. And that's one of the areas where it becomes really exciting that, again, the world is your database, but we've also automatically finding these connections between data sets in the background. Yeah, Toby briefly mentioned picture work as well. So, you know, this is phase one really. So there's a lot of exciting work to do in terms of, for example, we're thinking data galleries where people can publish their infographics and other people can browse them. So even if don't feel comfortable enough to mess around with the data and make your own infographics, you can browse these galleries and reuse them in your own blogs and you know, really get the most out of the insights that people have put out there. And also, we really want to open discussions about data. So not only being public about open data, where it's from. I think the next key phase in the open data revolution really is to talk about what we're doing with data. You know, I've taken this data, I've done this to it and made this graphic. You know, we want people to comment on that process. You know, have they, you know, are the figures correct? You know, there's another result here. You know, what does that mean? You know, is that actually correct? Yes, it is. You know, and then we have a quirky area to investigate, and it brings it all back into the real world really. And hopefully makes a virtuous circle where people then start to relook at the data and request new data. Yeah, so we're really hoping to raise the levels of quality of data as well by having discussions and feedback with the data.
Hi, yeah, I was wondering whether you're able to, I guess, further interrogate the data once you set up these graphs. So, for example, having hierarchies, like I've got the UK, that I can click down to, you know, county, or if I've looked at income from eggs by gender, I can add age on top of that, or things like that. Is that possible?
Yeah. So again, we have the tool data pipeline that does that in the background. Unfortunately, we've not just brought it through to the front end just yet. But what we, as you see, you know, we've got one grouping of data here, which is on the districts. There's no reason why we can't add further groupings to really narrow it down. So, just for example, I mean, Tony brought up a good graphic from the Guardian area where we really saw things being broken down into smaller and smaller areas. But you know, the one with the kind of buttons on it, I don't know if you remember it. But yeah, that's going to be one of the visualization types we're looking at, where you can really see it as a whole and then see it broken down into smaller areas and smaller chunks, so you can really dig into it. And it's worth saying, you know, this is a kind of open platform, really. So if you don't like the visualization types, it's got a plug-in system. So if you've got some kind of techie guys who know a bit of JavaScript, they can plug into it. So we'll give more of the data goodness and all of the kind of data querying, and then you know you can work through and make your own custom visualizations. Really, so a very open, expandable system.
If we could just chip in briefly from behind the cabinet. One of the most exciting bits I should have mentioned, we ran, you guys ran and I rocked up, 3 workshops for global value exchange and data unity to get people to come along and start using them. And one of the really interesting conversations was a techie guy who knew more than a bit of JavaScript looking at those buttons along the top. And he'd been working on a visualization type which he could see could just become another button along there. So this is the kind of expandability being open source that is really, intriguing and attractive about this project. So.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, looking a little sparse at the moment, but yeah, they're going to go way off the side now. Click a button more and you get listed a lot more down there. So yeah, more coming along all the time there. But it's worth saying, like, even the geography one's quite a complex one, and even, you know, we've got that in a few days, just because we've done all this work with the data pipeline, you know, these simpler ones, you know, within a day you can kind of get some new visualization types in there. So have quite rapid developing new visualization types. Good.
I just wondered, open question, whether you have had any discussions about doing more qualitative kind of graphics with script rather than Excel sheets, and you've got the ideas kind of where that could go with this platform?
That's a very good question, actually, yeah. So at the moment, we've been focusing more on the quantitative stuff. So, as you're right, there's a whole, sometimes, I used to work in market research a lot. So a lot of the data is actually people's comments and text fields and stuff like that. And, you know, we don't just want to take a data set, hack down like 3/4 of it and just look at the quantitative stuff. You're completely right, there's a whole world of qualitative data to look at. So I took it out for this demo. I didn't quite have time to finish it off, but there's, for example, a word cloud is a very simple example. If you had a comments field in the database, you could drag down the word cloud, just drop a text field onto it, and visualize what the most common words and themes. We've been playing around with some other interesting ideas. We found n-grams quite useful. What they are is like groupings together of common words that are often paired together. So, for example, we were looking at some, in fact we were looking at some of Nominet Trust evaluation forms, and we did some n-grams on you know, the comments in there. And it's very good at picking up the names. You would have, you know, Dr. So-and-so, or you could really see the people who are working in that field quite well. And it also brings through the language, like you could, at a glance, you could look at an application, just see that it's going to be quite scientifically based. It had lots of evidence-based words and groupings and things like that. So, yeah, short answer is yes, we're very interested in the quality side of things. Not quite made it through, but they're definitely on the way.
Like the change flow diagrams and textures and the kind of relationship things would be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's, absolutely, yeah. It's, a lot of these graphics are interactive JavaScript graphics. It's based on a library called D3, and that, as part of its fundamentals, has kind of network diagrams. So anything that has nodes and strengths of relationships between things. So if your data set's about things and how they relate to other things, then yeah, that's a classic use of kind of network diagrams. Yeah. So yes, we'll be looking to support those as well.